Okay, let's look at assignment resources. So I know it can be very confusing, especially in a 6-week class, because there are so many assignments every week. So for this week, we're in Module 2, and I know when you look at everything, it seems like there's so much to look at. However, it is kind of important to click through these because otherwise you're not going to have a clue how to get the assignment done. So these represent, this is what I would be telling you in class. This is would be like class time, and I would be standing at the board going over all this with you. So first of all, there's the self-introduction speech assignment explanation. And, another challenge, I think, with online classes is that online classes are the only platform I can think of where you're going to see a wall of text like this. So even if you love to read like novels or graphic novels or historical novels, you are not going to want to read a screen that looks like this. But it's worth your while to do so. So, one thing that you can notice is that I tried to number it so you could kind of quickly scan through it. So this tells you that this is a 2 to 4 minute speech of self-introduction. So you're just going to introduce yourself to the class. You want to make sure that you keep it around 3 minutes, since it has to be at least 2 minutes, but not longer than 4 minutes. Okay. Then this is an important hint. Select 3 objects or pictures that represent like who you are, your self-concept. So it could be like your favorite book, your favorite movie, and your favorite band. Or it could be your 3 favorite hobbies. So that's one way to organize it. This would be considered a topical organizational strategy. Or you could do 3 phases of your life, past, present, and future. This would be chronological or sequential organizational strategy. You can do either one. So you're either going to tell us about 3 parts of your life that you think are interesting or engaging or fun, or you're just going to tell us like, this is where you've come from, this is what you're doing now, and this is what you have to do in the future. And here's another hint. When you're trying to write this speech, it can be helpful to use sensory-oriented language. So if you come from a family of 7, tell us how that sounds, what the dinner table looks like, what the house looks like. If you have animals barking and pawing at you all the time in your household, describe that. Sensory-oriented language is what makes a story come to life. And for a self-introduction speech, storytelling can be a great way to go. Stories are engaging for the audience, and stories make it really easy for you to remember your speech. Okay. And then you should incorporate 3 sources. So you want to read on, because students often ask this question: if the subject of the speech is me, why would I need to do any research? Okay. So you're doing research just to add something interesting to your story, right? This can be fun facts about the town you grew up in. It could be jokes. It could be inspiring quotes. It could be, you could interview your parents about the day you were born. So you're using sources just to make the speech more entertaining, because a self-introduction speech is usually a special occasion speech, and often your purpose is really to entertain. Okay. Then you want to arrange your speech in logical order. So obviously, if you're doing past, present, and future, it would be in that sequential order. And you're going to create a working outline, as is explained in Chapter 13 of your book. And there's actually an example in Chapter 13. It's not a self-introduction speech, it's just an informative speech. Okay, and then it says, prepare to deliver your speech extemporaneously. And there's actually even a resource that explains that. But extemporaneous is you're not reading it, but you have written it and rehearsed it. So you're also then not just speaking off the cuff, but you've written a speech, you've rehearsed the speech, and you're just occasionally referring to your notes. It's not memorized, but you kind of generally learn it by rehearsing it, but you have notes in hand. Okay, remember that you're going to have 5 people in your audience. This is a live audience. So you're going to be facing the camera as the speaker, and we're going to see the backs of your audience. Okay, this guy only has 4, but he should have 5. Remember too that if one of your audience members is wearing a giant hoodie, a giant hat, a giant helmet, a giant anything where I can't tell that's a human being, I'm going to ask you to re-record your video. So make sure that your audience is just 5 actual people, and one person out of every class will prop up a broom with a wig and a hat. Just don't be that person. I'm just going to write back to you and say, sorry, you're going to have to re-record. So, set your things up like this. And so this is important information. This talks about some more tips about how to write your speech. All right. And then you can just click through all these resources like this. Okay. So you've already used the grading rubric. By the time you're writing your outline, you've already used the grading rubric to grade a speech. But this is like the recipe for getting a good grade, because this is what I use to grade you. So it's worth taking a look at. Okay, this tells you about extemporaneous speaking, which is what we're doing in this class. And here is a guide. Okay, this shows you standard outline format, which is Roman numerals and capital letters. It shows you like a sample introduction, but it also shows you MLA formatting, which is 1-inch margins all around, a particular style of heading, sequential page numbers. It has in-text citations. Also, if you're curious about what are main points, you can click here, and this will take you to a tutorial on main points. This will take you to a tutorial on transition lines. This takes you to a tutorial about what the body of the speech should contain. So in-text citations, this is will take you to a video that explains in-text citations. And see my note here where it says, when you're doing an oral presentation, you want your in-text citations to be signal phrases. If you don't know what that is, you can click here and find out. Okay? Okay. All right. Oh, here's an actual example of a real speech that a student did. So if you're wondering what would your self-introduction speech look like, you can see it here. Okay. And here's an example of a student doing a self-introduction speech. She's got her 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 audience members. They're in the frame of the camera. She's standing here facing the camera. She's using gestures. When you play it, she'll see that she picks up visual aids. She's got note cards. All right, so you can play that and watch a good self-introduction speech. And then it says, please read this before you record your speech. And it tells you some important things about if your primary light source is behind you, your face is going to be in darkness. Sometimes people will submit speeches where people or animals have run into the middle of the room or a fire alarm has gone off. So, this is just a 5-minute speech. If something crazy happens, just start over. Also, if you have somebody holding your camera and that person is running around, that's going to really increase your file size, which means you'll have to compress your file before you upload it. So just hold the camera still, or if you have somebody holding the camera, tell them to hold it still. And then you should face the camera. I know this sounds like a crazy thing to say, but you would not believe. Usually in every term out of, say, 4 to 6 classes, I will have at least one student who somehow gives their speech with their back to the camera. So you need to be facing the camera, so remember to do that. All right, and then just remember, you need to watch your speech afterwards. If you can't hear yourself, you can't see yourself, you can't see your audience, the fire alarm goes off. Instead of submitting that video with an apology, just re-record it. So these are such short speeches. So, okay. So, all right, and then this is your quiz. So that is the resources portion of Module 2, okay? That's the resources portion of Module 2. This is everything that you need. But if you don't click through these and read through them, you're really, when it comes time to actually creating the outline, you're going to be a little bit lost. So you want to make sure that you actually read these resources so that when it comes time to do the outline, you'll be like, oh yeah, I get it. I kind of see, what I'm supposed to do. And don't forget that these are drop-down menus. So it's good to, take a look at those. They can come in handy. Okay? So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, I'm always happy to hear from you. Know too that when you're doing these, you're thinking like, oh my gosh, we have to like write the outline and do the speech, and then we have like quizzes and like a discussion forum. It's because these quizzes will work you through the book to get information that you need to prepare your outline and speech. This will give you a chance to use the grading rubric to grade a speech, so that when you're writing your speech and performing your speech, you really do have an idea of how it's going to be graded. Okay? So anyway, I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions.